Interview with Richard Liberty on March 7th, 2000. How are you, Mr. Liberty?
Great, thank you.
Great. Is Liberty your given name?
Actually, no. I was born Liberato Scioli, and they changed it about 2 years after I was born to Liberty. It's in Italian, means shoulder of liberty. They took the second half, which was liberty. I had one uncle took Scioli.
Gotcha. Shoulder of liberty?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
The weight of liberty on your shoulders.
Yeah.
How did you come? You first worked with George Romero on The Crazies, right?
Yes. Yeah, right.
How did you just audition for that? Or
I just auditioned. There was a ad in Backstage, and I auditioned for him and got it.
The role was Artie?
Right, Artie Bolton.
Artie Bolton.
Right.
And how was that shoot? Do you remember anything interesting about The Crazies shoot?
That was my first working with George and the whole crew. It was, we were all at a motel. It was interesting. We were all at this motel, and everybody had dinner in the dining room. And I got there, nobody knew me, so they were all, all sitting around in their own group. And the next day, I had my first shoot, and I always blow a line. I blow a line right away. The first thing I do is blow a line.
For good luck.
Yeah, for good luck. And we shot the rest of the day, and I got back home, and one of the guys came up and put his arm around me, and I was one of the crowd then.
Great.
They said, we got a football game going, we want you on our team. So once that happened, once I did my first...
Part of the family.
Yeah, you're part of the family. It's a great feeling.
And after The Crazies didn't get much of a release, I guess. No,
they got nothing. It was bad timing. A film came out just like it, just before that. And he had trouble, I think, getting back.
Andromeda Strain, was it?
I don't remember what it was.
And in the intervening years, after The Crazies, you worked again with George on Day of the Dead, of course, in 84, 85.
Right.
In the intervening years, you were in several other pictures. The Final Countdown, for instance?
Yeah, Final Countdown, and with in a Walt Disney film called Flight of the Navigator. And I did several commercials and some soaps while I was in New York.
Stage work also?
Yeah, I did a lot of theater.
Okay. Porky's too.
Yeah, Porky's too.
Did it have a zombie in Porky's too? Zombie expert. So again, how did you, after The Crazies, many years went by, how did you come to be involved with Day? Did George just remembered you from The Crazies? Or?
I got a call. I was home in bed. I got a call in the morning, and it was Chris, his new wife. She was a casting director. She said, would you be interested in doing another role? George wrote the role for you. And I said, of course I would. She said, all right, we're going to New York to do casting. If nothing happens, we'll get back to you. And I've learned in my business, as soon as I audition, I forget, you don't think about whether you got it or not. A week later, I had forgotten all about it, and I got a call from Chris again, and she said, we didn't cast it in New York, and we want you to do it. We'll send you out a script, Overnight Express. Now, I'd never heard of Overnight Express. The next day was Sunday morning, and the doorbell rang, and there was a script.
Wow.
And George had written on the side all of his little asides, which made it fun. And I called him back right away, and I said, yeah, I want to do it. So they said he'd written it for me, and that surprised the hell out of me.
Wow. Was it the original, the longer Day script that he had written, or was it the shooting script already at that point?
A shooting script.
Shooting script.
Yeah.
Let's see. Had you ever seen the original script of Day?
I don't think so.
It was a much longer, bigger story.
Yeah, this is basically it. We have characters that have nothing to do with the film in the final shooting version. About 20 pages long.
Okay, back to the interview. How did you prepare for the role of Dr. Logan?
Well, I got the script, and I took my wife and my two cats, and we drove up. I had just gotten a new used Datsun, and we drove up all the way up to Beaver Falls. So we worked on the script going up. And then when I got to wardrobe, and she had the glasses with a crack in it, and everything with the blood on it. And once I put that on, I was in character.
That was it.
Yeah, it was it.
Did you, I know people have wondered about the mysterious tape recording on a tape recorder similar to this one, in fact, about the father stalking. Now, that's in the script, but did you create any further backstory for the character?
No, I didn't.
That was just...
Yeah. In fact, we did that the last day of the shoot, my last day on the set. Shot that.
Gotcha. Can you recall any particular event or day of shooting that stands out in your mind?
Yeah, I can. in the scene, it's the scene that's 5 seconds long, and it's when they machine gun me and I fall into the freezer, and when they open the freezer, when the soldiers open the freezer door, George wanted to see that swirl of frost, so they used a big cube of dry ice with a fan behind it. Now, dry ice is carbon dioxide, and but nobody realized that carbon dioxide is heavier than air. Now, I've learned how to breathe without moving my chest so that I can look like I'm dead, which is what I was doing. And then suddenly, my heart started pounding so badly because my pores weren't breathing. I was in carbon dioxide. So they picked me up and stood me up, and I had the vest on. The vest weighed, 4 or 5 pounds. Laid me back down, and we shot this for like all day long for the 5-second thing. My heart just kept pounding through that jacket. Wow. And before we shot it, it was George. I shot 18 times. And George said, just to remind you before we have this shot, we have no other jacket. There's no backup jacket. We've got to get it right the first time. We talk about tension on the set. That was the day. And they had a huge plexiglass to cover the camera during the blood scene. And the blood was everywhere. And blood was all over the place, all over the screen. And
spectacular death.
Yeah, it was.
Doing that in the doorway before Tasha stood in.
In the front, on video.
You might have the rest.
Oh, interesting. I have to look that up. I remember Okay, we were discussing cave illnesses here.
Yeah, it was something that I heard about after I was through with the film. It happens on submarines all the time. When they can't surface, everybody on the sub comes down with this malady, and it's a lack of vitamin D, which we get from the sun. So we had a doctor on the set, and every day, every week, somebody was sick, and they got a shot of vitamins or whatever it was. I was lucky because I was off. I shoot a couple of days and then be off for 3 or 4 days, so I was getting plenty of sun. But the crew and the cast, they were just sick through most of the shooting of that film.
Wow. Again, going back to the spectacular death sequence, my brother Tasso, of course, doubled you for the shot from behind.
Right.
And you were lucky to escape the other 18 squibs on the back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Randy. I remember that scene because they shot him first. And then they shot me the next day.
So you knew it was coming.
And, but then I had to put my fingers and hands in exactly the same place on the door.
Right.
And I don't know if you remember, but I had blood all over my hand, the gloves or hands, and they hadn't sprayed it with anything. So when they posed me against the door, when I took my hands off, they ripped all of the paint off the door jamb. They had to repaint the whole thing, and then go through and find some. They finally found some fixing that the artists use, and they sprayed that on the gloves and on the blood, and that saved the day.
Wow, that's another good one.
You might want to ask me about the shot in the head.
The shot.
The continuity problem.
Oh, was there? Do you recall when you were in makeup being dead on the floor with the mist?
Right.
Do you recall there being a wound on your head? I guess people have mentioned that they didn't notice. They saw all the bullet hits were on the body, which theoretically you should have come back as a zombie if you weren't hit in the head.
No, I never even noticed that.
Never noticed that? Do you recall Tom putting makeup or anything on your head? No. Ah, interesting. So there's a gap. There's a mistake. From the horse's mouth, we have it figured out. How would you characterize the relationship between old Doc Logan and Bub?
Well, it was great. Incidentally, another good story. That headphones, the earphones that Bub used, that was his idea. He came to George and said, how about this for an idea? And George loved it. He said, we'll go with it. So we went with it. And that was, I think, the best scene in the movie.
Absolutely.
That's the rapport between the two of them.
Sure.
It was set up real good.
Was there any other improvisation like that, or was that the main one?
That was the main one. And I'm not surprised because George had enough confidence in himself. A good director will take, suggestions and go with them. But someone who's insecure, they won't. They'll just go with their own shoot.
Right.
But George says, "Yeah, let's give it a try."
Wow, we jump right next to number 11.
Did you ask a question about the research?
The research for.
If you did any? Yeah, because when I watch it, I get the impression that Doc Logan almost comes across as a Auschwitz doctor, like doing all these crazy experiments and presenting the results.
Well, you didn't do any research in that area, did you?
No.
So basically, put the costume on, and there he was.
There it was.
Okay.
Every time I put it on, it was, I had nothing to work at. It was there.
Right, right. Did you? How did you approach the gruesome makeup effects, other than your own death, like walking in and seeing Mike Tersick on the table with his?
It was strange because I've never been in a horror movie, and I wouldn't go to them until that point. And it was strange going to lunch and seeing these zombies coming at you, coming around the corner. And it took a while. It took a while to get used to it.
Did you attend the premiere in New York?
Yes. My wife and I flew up. I was shooting a commercial down in Miami, and the director said, "We can't let you go. It's going to be an all-day and all-night shoot." And then at the last minute, the director said, "I can let you go. I think at 6 o'clock." I called my wife, and she got the car, drove down, and I got off the set, and we just made the plane, and I got up to the premiere.
Any interesting premiere anecdotes? Anybody vomit or pass out or anything?
No, but what was interesting and a little scary to me, in between the first and the second showing, George had a party across the street at one of the bars. And I walked in, and all of these groupies were there, and I knew nothing about groupies. These guys, all these people knew everything I'd ever done, every movie, every commercial. They knew my address, they knew my phone number, they knew everything about me. They knew more about me than I knew about myself. And that is scary.
Yeah, some people are really into it like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like this guy.
I was a fan.
He was at that bar. You were there, weren't you?
No,
Norman was there. Norman Ing, a friend of ours from Japan, was actually at that premiere. He's Norman.
Norman.
Since Day of the Dead, what are your most memorable assignments? Any good jobs that you can come to mind immediately?
No, nothing to touch this. This was my favorite. This is the only time in my life that I've been locked up in a hotel room for 2 months, 2.5 months, whatever it was. And we did nothing but work on the script day and night. My wife and I worked on it at night after dinner. And the next day, we'd do the shoot. And then after the shoot, we'd work on the script. For 24 hours a day, I was doing the film. And that's the only time in my life that's ever happened.
So you were working on, when you say working on the script, you're working on dialogue?
Yeah,
or?
working on dialogue,
Okay.
memorizing it, doing the scene, preparing the scene for the next day. And then going through it. And I won't watch the dailies. A lot of guys watch the dailies. I don't know, you know what the dailies are?
Sure.
Okay. And I never would watch them. I see something and I was doing it that would bother me, and I'd change it. And one day they came up to me after one of the scenes, and I guess it was a shooting scene. And somebody came up and said, "Go in and watch the dailies tonight because you're going to like it." And I did, but that's the only thing I ever watched on the whole shoot.
And if given the opportunity, would you work on another Romero film?
Oh, I'd love to. I understand he's working on his last film now. I'm trying to get a hold of him and get something in it. I'd love to work with him again.
Oh, did you? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
And also Harrison, the AD, he did a film. I wanted to audition for that. I never got a hold of him. And I understand he's doing another film. I'd like to work on that too.
I know he's shooting Dune in the Czech Republic or something right now, miniseries. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Wrapping that up.
Yeah. Is there anything about George, to your mind, that sets him apart from other directors you may have worked with?
He's very relaxed, and he's like a big teddy bear. He's like a daddy, when you blow a line or something, because that puts his arms around you and everything's all right. There's no tension on the set, because that's usual most of the time. The first night that I was in the hotel, I called him up and told him I wanted to meet my wife. And I went down and we had a few drinks. And that's when that was the first time he told me that he'd written the part for me. And I don't know, he was just like a big teddy bear.
So your work on Day of the Dead has made would you say, a significant impact on your life and your career?
Oh, God, yeah. But the funny thing is, I can't get anyone to watch it. Agents won't watch it. They don't like horror movies. And the language is so bad, I can't show it to a lot of kids. But I was doing a play in Miami a couple of years ago, and I had a cast party. Somebody in the cast, it was all young boys. It was the play took place in a boys' school, and somebody wanted to see it, so I ran the movie, and I thought I'd get flack from the mothers, but nobody. Everybody was happy about it. But no, it's I'd love to work with them again.
Wow.
But you're generally not a horror fan. I mean, you're not really a horror fan.
No.
But you did this movie, and you're proud of the film.
Right.
Okay, so, when fans come out and they try to perpetuate the legacy, you don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, my last day on the shoot, I had to stay out to see Gary Clark get bitten by the zombie on the neck. I had to stay for that special effect. Gary and I became good friends on the set.
Any final words? Any Your last word on the Day of the Dead saga.
I was surprised at the ending. I'm kind of a little disappointed in George for the ending, where everybody, it was all a dream. I guess how else are you going to end it? You know, it was a lot of fun doing it. I understand from when I talked to George that one of his good friends is Stephen King, the horror writer, and Stephen, I understand Stephen wanted to be an extra on the film. Well, we used to shoot the weekends on the Saturdays and Sundays. Those were the group shots for the zombies, because all these people were flying out of New York, California, coming from all over the country just to be in George Romero's film. And what they got a box lunch and a T-shirt that said, "I was a zombie in Day of the Dead." No money. And that was it.
Wow. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you.